Today on MMA Mayhem, we will be interviewing Bellator fighter Douglas the Phenom Lima.
We'll also be interviewing owner of Severn MMA, Molly.
MMA official extraordinaire Blake Grice.
And Arizona State Hall of Famer and UFC Hall of Famer, Dan the Beast Severn.
Staff writer for MFC and addicted to MMA.com, Curtis Ledger, right here on MMA Mayhem. Let's go.
Coming at you from CSB Studio C in Atlanta, Georgia, the Beer Battered Sports Network presents MMA Mayhem, where MMA matters the most with Brad Storm.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
And George, the MMA Encyclopedia Kennebrew.
I'm going to do my thing, and when I do my thing will be done.
To give you the lowdown on the world of mixed martial arts, it's MMA Mayhem on the BBSN.com.
Welcome to MMA Mayhem. What another great edition on this Halloween day.
Halloween.
Wow, man. And I'm Brad Storm.
Wait. I think I hear Michael Myers coming. Everybody duck. Everybody duck.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Jason, Michael Myers. Spooky. Oh, my. You know what? Know what's spooky?
What's spooky?
We didn't dress up.
Yes, we did.
Would you dress up?
You're Brad.
No, I'm not. I don't
You're
have
Brad.
that. That's not my. I don't have an ego like that. Come on, man. I don't dress up as Brad.
I'm just saying. We didn't have to dress up. We're just being ourselves.
I want to dress up. What'd you dress up as?
I don't know.
You got a white T-shirt on again.
Yeah, looking like a cream Workers
Cream.
Original
Looking
over
like
here.
Cream.
Yeah, looking like a chocolate frappuccino over here. I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I get on myself, man.
Hey, Georgia MMA Encyclopedia with me and Brad Storm. As always, we're breaking things down.
Yes, we are.
We got a great show.
We got an awesome
in store
show
for everybody out there. First and foremost, I want to just say thank you to all the listeners out there spreading the word.
We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. Our hits and our status has gone up greatly on our Facebook page. We thank you so much. DBBSN.com is doing well. Also, we just love you guys, man. Keep on pushing the love.
Keep it on, man.
Keep on keeping on.
And Halloween's great. And everybody, if you're going out trick-or-treating, just be careful. Don't go to any strangers' houses. And if you're an adult, you shouldn't be going trick-or-treating unless you have kids anyway.
Yeah, that's like really...
That's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. We call that ratchet over there.
I saw your candy bag, though. What the hell's up with that?
My candy bag?
Yeah, you going out trick-or-treating?
Man, you must be thinking about candy.
Hey, I went to Rampage Pro Wrestling this past weekend, and what a great show, man. I've never been, besides the WWA 4, I've never really been a part of something so great as far as pro wrestling goes.
Yeah.
And you can check them out on RampageProWrestling.net. I met some outstanding wrestlers. Doctoberfest was off the chain. A lot of blood in the cage in the main event.
Really?
Oh, yeah. A lot of
blood.
So
I guess that was a real treat for the fans, no pun intended.
Yeah, and I stopped by WWA 4 on Thursday with no doubt about it, Mr. Total Perfection, Mr. Hughes.
He's total perfection? He's perfection too?
Total perfection equals total protection.
That's it, man.
And Mr.
Did they throw you a party over there? You hadn't been there in a while, man. Did they get the balloons?
No, they don't throw me a party, man. What the hell? I don't need a damn party. My birthday's not coming up yet. And but they do appreciate it when I come, and I appreciate all those guys over there because if it wasn't for the WWA 4 school, there would be no place for me to perfect my skills.
Shout out to WWA 4, man. That's where it's at. Mr. Hughes, we see.
Hey, there's a lot of news going on in the MMA world.
So much news.
What's up with Ronda Rousey, bro?
Ronda Rousey, man. I'm telling you, this girl is
being hot.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say this girl has become the Kim Kardashian of MMA. That is safely to say. I know she probably might not like me saying
Kim Kardashian,
but I'm just saying that's her status right now. And speaking of that,
the armbar assassin.
That's it. And she has been elevated to the big time. She's nominated, ladies and gentlemen. She is nominated for a World MMA Award.
Not an ESPY.
Not an ESPY, but a World MMA Award. So that's kind of like the ESPY.
World MMA is pretty huge.
Huge.
World is pretty huge.
I'm talking about like Sherman Klump huge.
with Ronda Rousey and everything, and the Strikeforce up in the air, the status, we don't know what the hell's going on with Strikeforce. Supposed to be having a card in January.
Supposed to be.
Should be a Night of Champions, supposedly.
Supposedly.
And, Ronda Rousey, she's making her money, and good for her, man. She's earned it.
She has earned it.
She's earned it. And she's putting women's MMA in an orbit that is just unimaginable.
And she's also putting girls in the hospital, too, with those arm bars as well.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Just ask Miesha Tate.
Yeah, Miesha Tate. I just don't know, outstanding award if when she gets it. And the World MMA Awards, nothing beats that as far as MMA goes. And what the thing is, though, who's her next opponent?
I don't know.
No, there's none.
Maybe somebody on planet Pluto, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And
maybe she could go out and armbar Michael Myers.
I think
Jason.
He would just get, like the Undertaker, he would just get back up. He would just get back up. And, speaking of, Cyborg, she signed, I don't know the exact facts, but I know she signed with a company. It's not Strikeforce.
No.
And, I guess they're not going to be banging it out.
That's really unfortunate what happened
with Cyborg. Maybe I shouldn't say banging it out.
No, Brad, I think that's a very appropriate term. But no, it's real unfortunate what happened with Cyborg and her soul situation with Strikeforce. I really would have wished that she would have stuck around and wait to see what the future was going to hold. But I guess in her case, you got to move on and make moves, and I guess she's making moves somewhere else. So we wish you all the best, Cyborg.
Speaking of making moves, you look at Nick Diaz making moves and Josh Koscheck.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
They want to make a move on the night where you want to make a move on Super Bowl weekend, baby. Super Bowl weekend. Now, we don't know if it's confirmed yet, Brad, but we hearing from little birdies on some websites that...
Are you ready for some ass kicking?
That's right, man. And we might be in store for that because Nick Diaz has accepted the challenge of one Josh Koscheck. Josh Koscheck coming up with a lot of nerve to challenge Nick Diaz, a dangerous opponent.
Hey. This is like wrestling right here, brother.
Yeah, man.
They're going to be a lot of smack talking on this one.
Oh, brother.
Going to be a lot of smack talking on this
Chael Sonnen, eat your heart out.
Oh, yeah. Chael, he'll be able to appreciate this one, but both guys can back it up.
They can.
They have, the win-to-loss ratio. Even
though Nick Diaz might be a little bit more successful
than because Nick's been in, he's been in Pride. He's been all over Strikeforce. He's been
former welterweight champion in Strikeforce.
Come on, man. That's why MMA Encyclopedia. I love you, brother.
That's right.
Another fight that's been signed over there, Jose Aldo versus Frankie.
Wait a minute. Finally, we're going to get to see Jose Aldo fight? He's not been over at the Harley
George St. Pierre this month coming up.
Really? So he hasn't been hanging out at the Harley Davidson motorcycle shop trying to, buy some new rides or nothing like that? So he's going to actually fight this time?
No, he's not doing the stanky leg anymore.
Oh,
man.
okay.
He's going to be fighting, and he's going to be fighting Frankie Edgar.
Can Frankie have the answer for Jose Aldo? Can he come up with the answer?
Nobody has. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Frankie because with the losses that he suffered,
to
lately,
Ben Henderson,
and he's going to have to step up to the plate. And fans, chime in, let us know what you think about that. And you want to talk about Dan Henderson or Henderson?
Yeah.
That last name, Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
And Chael Sonnen. Mm-hmm. Not talking so much anymore, bro.
Oh man, that's kind of a sour grape to eat right there.
You look at it. Dan Henderson was in the line for to be the challenger to Bones Jones for the title. And now, all of a sudden, goodbye, and his one of his partners.
I think that's...
Team Quest, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of bad on Dan's part. I think what he did, he kind of got caught up in all the hype and stuff, and
he's injured.
He was letting people get in his ear, but still, dude.
The time's running out for Dan, though, and I think that he should have got his shot if he was going to be healthy. But barring that injury, I don't know how long it's going to take him to heal.
Yeah.
But with Tough 17 coming around the corner,
right?
Yeah, he could have been involved in that. He's in his 40s. Man, time is running out.
And that still shouldn't influence your relationship with Chael Sonnen. You guys have literally grown up in the sport together. Come on,
right,
man. Where's the loyalty at?
Well, he went back and said, I always have love for Chael. And maybe not everybody agrees with what Chael's been doing, but it has been affected. And like what Chael says, and he said it over and over again, when Dana White came to me, I said yes.
Yeah. If Dana White came to you and said, Brad, would you like the opportunity? If you had never fought, if Dana White, be honest, if he came up to you and said, Brad, I want to give you the opportunity to fight John Jones for the light heavyweight championship, keyword championship.
I say, how much money you paying me? And I said, yeah. And I said, I'm going to have to pay my medical bills because they're going to be probably up in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I used to have that, too, with Mike Tyson, man. Everybody would be like, would you step in the ring with Mike Tyson to get knocked out for $1 million? And everybody was like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, I just don't know what's going on with, you know, Chael Sonnen and Dan Henderson. Maybe only time will tell. Maybe they can work things out.
I hope this doesn't turn into another John Jones, Rashad Evans saga. I just hope it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah, I hope so too. You know, George, Joel, happy Halloween to you guys today, and it's going to be one hell of an episode today on MMA Mayhem.
Yes, it is. We got a lot of good interviews coming up, brother.
Coming up next on MMA Mayhem, we have Bellator's finest, Douglas the Phenom, Lima, only here on the BBSN.com and CouchFighter.co. MMA Mayhem fans, this is Brad Storm saying what's up. If you love MMA as much as you love pro wrestling, then you're gonna love the WWA 4. Every Thursday night, 8 o'clock bell time on Full Industrial and Commerce Drive. You'll see the best of the WWA 4 superstars such as AR Fox, Black Baron, Skeletal, J-Bo, K9, and many, many more. Go check us out on YouTube. Look up WWA 4, subscribe, share to the world, and comment as well. And you can also hit us up on Facebook at Fans of WWA 4. If you love pro wrestling action, the WWA 4 is where it's at.
My name is Harold J. Taylor from Headlocks and Headshots. And when I want the latest MMA news, I check in with MMA Mayhem.
217 on track. All I do is ball.
Welcome back, MMA fans. We are here with none other than one of Bellator's finest. We got Douglas, the Phenom, Lima. I want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be on MMA Mayhem on Couch Fighter Hotline.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You know, you got a big fight coming up, I believe, was November 2nd. It's going to be a Bellator 79. Now, do you know who your opponent is? Because I've been searching on the web. I can't find anything. Wonder if you could elaborate on who you're going to be fighting.
Yeah, the guy's name is Kobe Ortiz. You know, Bellator didn't announce a lot about the fight, but, you know, it should be coming up the next couple of days. You know, it comes from a wrestling background. You know, seems like a tough opponent. You know, comes from a good camp. Just excited, you know, to get back in the cage.
Now, I know Bellator is doing their welterweight bracket. I think it's coming up this weekend, right? Are you going to move up weight? Are you going to do middleweight?
This next fight is a catch weight at 180. But, no, I'm not planning on moving up yet. I got this next tournament in January. You know, it's coming up on Spike TV. So, it's a welterweight tournament. That's the weight I plan on staying. Maybe after the tournament, we'll see what happens.
So, you know, I want to know, because American Top Team here in Gwinnett, awesome place. You guys train hard. You got Amir over here. You got your brother, Diego. Who has been the person that you've been preparing with to get ready for this fight? And who's been the best, should I say?
Man, for me, you know, I don't have a best, training partner. You know, they all help me out. You know, we just opened up this gym here in Gwinnett. You know, American Top Team, me and my brother Amir, like you said. You know, we're going good. Training's going great. You know, pro practice in the morning at Brian Stan's gym. You know, being coached by Jucão. Yep. You know, we got a big wrestler that came to help us out. You know, he just moved in. You know, Raymond Jordan. You know, it's a huge help to our camp. You know, just helping everybody out. You know, everybody improving together. And, you know, it's good.
Douglas, even though you may not know much about your opponent, just judging from your overall skill set, what problems do you think you pose for Kobe Ortiz?
Man, for me, every fight is 50-50. You know, everybody's got a fighting chance, you know, inside the cage. You know, I don't know much about the guy. You know, I've seen a couple of videos on him. But it just doesn't matter, man. I'm doing me. I'm thinking about myself, you know, improving every day, you know, in every aspect. And, you know, we'll see what happens in the fight.
Now, we know that you're a mentally tough fighter, so we know pressure is not a thing for you. But I just want to know, being that he's going to be the quote-unquote underdog and you're going to probably be the favorite coming into this fight, do you still have that expectation that you really have to go out and put on a good performance against this guy?
Definitely. Yeah, no, some people, you know, say that he's an underdog. I don't look at it that way. I don't care who I'm fighting, man. I'm just going to be fighting to win. It doesn't matter how big the opponent is, how big, underdog he is. I just can't underestimate anybody, man. I'm just, like I said, I'm just training hard to get better every day. It doesn't matter who the guy is. I'm going to go 100%, and I'm going to try to finish him.
The last fight you had with Ben Askren in Bellator 64 went 5 rounds. It went to a decision. It was a battle. A lot of fighters, they tell us that they if they have a loss, they learn from that loss. And this wasn't just, it was in the judges' hands. So you didn't get submitted. You didn't get knocked out. But did you learn anything from that battle?
Definitely. My point of view was a boring fight. I didn't do what I was supposed to. Askren, he taught me a lesson, man, on wrestling. There's a lot to improve on that part of my game. Working hard on it, and definitely just it got me, better. You know what I mean? Learn everything.
Exactly. They call you the Phenom, man. I was gonna ask you how you came about getting that nickname.
I got a nickname for a promoter, here in Atlanta, Tony Metcalf. I was young. I think I was 18 years old. My record was 8-0. I was doing pretty good in my career and so young, so they started calling me. Since that day, You're
still young, man. You're still young. What are you, 24 now, man?
Yeah, 24, still young.
I remember you teaching me the ropes a couple of years back and kicking my butt in training classes, and you've come a long way since then. I just wanted to thank you for giving us some time. And you got any sponsors? American Top Team Gwinnett, awesome place. You guys got to come check it out. But got anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Man, definitely for the fans, of course. Thanks everybody for the support. Thanks all my training partners. If you're in the area here in Gwinnett, come check us out. Our new facility. We got everything here, CrossFit. From the MMA, kickboxing. 3315 Sugarloaf, man. Come check us out. Thank all my sponsors. Soccer Punch, my management. Alienware. Who else? All Max. Taking care of my supplements and stuff. And, thanks everybody, man. Thanks all my teammates. Just really excited about the fight, and thank you guys for the interview.
Well, thanks, Douglas. Thank you, man. Yeah, and we wish you the best, man. Bellator 79 is going to be a barn burner, so to speak, man. Good luck to you.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks, guys.
Coming right at you on this spooky edition of MMA Mayhem, we're going to have owner of Southern MMA. That's right, Molly is going to be here on thebbsn.com and couchfighter.co.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAIN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by Rain and this station.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the YouTube sensation, the Ladies' Temptation. 218 pounds of rock hard steel and sex appeal, Dab Savage. And when I need my MMA news, I go to MMA Mayhem.
Are you ready for it?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MMA Mayhem. We've got a very special interview for you, courtesy of the Couch Fighter Hotline. We are talking to none other than Southern MMA's founder and CEO, MMA manager. She does it all. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Molly to the show. Miss Molly, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you. Now let's cut right to the chase. I want to know how this thing, Southern MMA, was created. How was Southern MMA created?
Well, I always feel like I fell into it a little bit. I started out in working with a company that sponsors fighters, and I worked in public relations for them. At the time when I started that job, I knew from a fan perspective a little bit about mixed martial arts, but not a lot. Mm-hmm. But as I knew a lot about marketing. So as I progressed in that position, I got to know a lot of fighters, was working with them to get their name out there, the guys that we were sponsoring. And when I decided to move on from that position, some of the fighters that I was working with at the time came to me and said, "We really don't want you to go. We want you to keep working with us." And I told them I don't know anything about management, but I'm very open to learning what to do. And so I just kind of jumped into it, both feet, and ultimately started accumulating more and more fighters, and eventually realized that I had something going on. So that's pretty much how it started.
Okay. Now, you were speaking just now about how you fell into the sport, and I want you to tell me, just how did you discover MMA? Because, I mean, of course, everybody that does something in MMA is a fan.
It was instant. I've never been a big sports fan. I enjoy, obviously the people that I know that compete in sports, I like to watch them and things like that. But I never was a big football fan. I never really grew up playing sports or anything like that. I was always more creative, artistic type, I guess. But a friend of mine who was a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we were just having a conversation. We weren't even talking about, it wasn't a big part of our conversation, but we were just discussing something. And he said, check this out. He sent me a YouTube video of Anderson Silva.
Okay.
And I want you to watch this, Molly. And I just watched it, and it was instant. Oh, that is awesome. That's amazing. People do that. I'm sure I had a little bit on my radar, but that was years back, And that's what sort of opened the door for me. And then also my kids at the time, due to my friend's influence as well, we're starting to train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I was around people that were involved in it as well. So it was kind of a couple different directions. But as soon as I saw the first fight I ever saw, I don't even remember who the opponent was. I just remember Anderson Silva. And I remember thinking that is exciting to watch. And that's when I got started becoming a fan. Absolutely.
Hey, Molly's Brad Storm. Anderson Silva, yeah, he's the top of the crop. And you know what? It seems to be, I hear a birthday whistle. It seems to be, I think it's your birthday today, isn't it?
Uh-oh.
Yes, today is my birthday. Thanks for reminding me.
Happy birthday. Wow,
happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Happy
I got a song.
to you.
So what'd you get for your birthday? A new fighter, possibly? Did you get a new fighter, possibly?
I didn't get a new fighter, but I did get some new fight contracts, which I'm pretty excited in my email.
Oh, yeah.
About.
Okay.
So I guess you could say that's my birthday present.
Do you want to elaborate?
I've got two little ones here, so of course my kids, did the cake and candles and everything with my kids. So.
Oh, right on. Do you prefer cookie cake or ice cream?
It was neither. It's red velvet. That's my favorite.
Red velvet.
I love red velvet. Yes, you are my best friend for life. I love red velvet cake.
It's so good, yeah.
And Southern MMA, you do a great job of picking up some wonderful fighters. Bam Bam Rogers, to name one, to be exact. I mean, now I know you have a stable of fighters. Now, do some of them call you and want more attention than others? How do you balance your attention between each and every fighter to make them feel equally important?
It's always been really important to me to do that, because I know that one of the biggest complaints that I've heard about managers is that, I can't get him on the telephone. If I need something, that I have a hard time getting through. And I tell you, it gets really busy. The phone is definitely full force. But yeah, I encourage my fighters to communicate with me, through Facebook, through text messages. Absolutely some of them require more than others.
Right.
Most of the time it has to do with experience. I have found the ones that have fought a lot more tend to need a little bit less, communication. The ones that are coming up in the ranks and just starting out are the ones that are going to need a little bit more, because small things they've never dealt with before come up along the way. So, yeah, but I would hope that all of my fighters would say that I'm here when they need something, that, that they feel like they're cared for. Yeah.
And a big part of that probably has to do with attending these fights. With Bad News was fighting this past weekend. Did you have to attend that fight? Is it mandatory for you to attend all these fights?
It's not mandatory. I try to do it as much as reasonable for me to do it.
With kids,
especially when they're regional. Obviously, like I said, I do have 2 kids.
Yeah.
I'm a single mom, so a lot of it has to do with if my kids are home or not, and I do take them with me sometimes too. Lately, I've been doing that a little bit more. But this event, I was real excited about attending it because, for one reason, I really support Rick McCoy and the MMA Institute, and they've been really great to Keith, and they actually are helping me with some of the other fighters that need a place to go and do, long-term camps for their fights, and wanted to be there to support them. They had I want to say they had 6 guys fighting on that card, you know, including Keith. And then also one of our big team sponsors, which is Outlaw Fight Gear.
Oh, yeah.
They were there from New Jersey, and I wanted to go up and have some FaceTime with Christian from Outlaw because they've been real good to us, too. So it was important this time for me to go.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, our show, MMA Mayhem, is growing by leaps and bounds each and every week, and we feel like we feel like we should be attending more of these MMA events.
Definitely.
And, you know, we don't have any particular fighters, you know, that belong to us, per se, but we do enjoy and appreciate all of our fighters, and we'd like to attend and see them fight.
Yeah.
It's the reward for the hard work that goes into getting these fights to happen, because I don't know that, you know, the fans always realize how much drama and, you know, red tape and how many hours on the phone, and obviously for the fighters, the training and everything that goes into bringing people to fight. So it's almost like the reward if I can go and watch and see the actual end result of what we're doing.
We should all go together sometime, right?
Yeah, we should.
What's that now? Yeah, we should all go together. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Molly, tell me this. By you being one of the first few female MMA managers, I feel like that's a very groundbreaking trend that you're setting. And I want you to tell me, by you being one of the few female MMA managers, do you feel like you can influence other women to maybe get into MMA relations or public relations with MMA?
I hope so. I know there's more. I'm certainly not the only one. There's definitely ones that have come before myself. You know, being females in the business, I definitely would like to think that it would encourage women to do that if it's something that they're good at. You know, I don't. Truthfully, I don't think about it much.
Really?
Anymore. When I first started, I think I got the feeling sometimes that people didn't take me seriously because I was a woman.
Yeah, I know that could be hard sometimes.
I once had a promoter who found me through my website, and it doesn't really have my name on there. It's not real evident that it's a woman that's behind the operation. So when he called my phone number and I answered, he thought he had the wrong number.
Wow. So you kind of shook people up, you know, when they kind of found out, like, wow, like, you know, she's really running things behind the scenes.
And also, you know, going to the events, I think a lot of times at the beginning I would be mistaken for, she must be one of the fighters' girlfriends, or
I was about to say maybe like a groupie or something of the fighter.
Or now that I've had a birthday, maybe one of their mothers. I don't know.
Yeah, right. This is another thing. This is another thing that I want to get to. Are there certain qualities that you look for in a fighter before you manage them? Because I know you're not gonna just, you know, take some bozo off the street and just say, I'm gonna get behind him and try to get this guy good fights and get him good paydays and stuff. So are there certain things you look for in a fighter before you manage him?
Absolutely, and it has absolutely nothing to do with their record. I don't. What I'm looking for is potential.
Okay.
And what that means to me is that it's somebody who has a work ethic, who hopefully already has an established gym and a coach that they are working with and will listen to. Someone that can be, I'm not sure, and mold is not quite the right word, but somebody that's going to listen and work hard. Because, you know, you can be 2-3, 2-5. You don't have to have a win record to be a good fighter. A lot of times mistakes get made early on as far as choosing the right fight at the right time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that go into it. So that, to me, is not the issue. But somebody that's going to work hard and stand by me and do right by my company, do what he says he's going to do or she says she's going to do or whatever, that's more what I'm looking for.
Well, hey, Molly, we're running out of time here. We want to thank you for coming on MMA Mayhem on the Couch Fighter Hotline. Do you want to make a shout-out to anybody? I know Southern MMA, that's your company, but is there anybody else in particular you want to make a shout-out to before we hang up with you?
We have big news. We have just signed our featherweight fighter, Bam Bam Rogers, Ronnie Rogers from South Carolina, to face Charles Crazy Horse Bennett, who I understand currently goes by Kid Chaos. This fight is going to take place December the 7th for Warfare MMA Myrtle Beach. So we're really excited about that. It should be the main event. That's not confirmed at this point. I want to mention our team sponsors because they help us so much. And one of them, as I mentioned earlier, is Outlaw Fight Gear. We also have Conflict Fighting in addition to Yucky Racing, which is out of Columbia, South Carolina. There's probably people that I haven't mentioned, but all my fighters everybody that steps up to support us, we really appreciate it, and I appreciate coming on the show. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we appreciate you.
Well, yeah, thanks once again. And once again, everybody out there, you want to be, if you're a fighter, an upcoming fighter, and you're looking for somebody to back you up, you want to check out Molly at southernmma.net.
Go there. Do it. If you're not, you're a square. Ain't that right, Molly?
That's right.
Well, we thank you for being on the show. We hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you.
Coming up next on this nightmarish edition of MMA Mayhem, we are going to have referee extraordinaire Blake Grice on thebbsn.com and couchfighter.co.
What if you were wearing something sexy? What if you were drinking? What if you made the first move? No matter what, sexual assault is never your fault. Support is available 24/7 through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Call 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAINN.org. That's RAINN.org. This is Christina Ricci with RAINN, reminding you it's never your fault.
Brought to you by Rain and this station.
This is Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman, and you're listening to MMA Mayhem.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MMA Mayhem. We've got another exciting interview on tap, courtesy of the Couch Fighter Hotline. Joining the broadcast right now, we have none other than MMA referee extraordinaire, Mr. Blake Grice. Mr. Grice, how are you doing this afternoon?
Man, that was a great intro. I appreciate it. I'm doing really good. How are y'all?
Oh, we're doing fine, man. Glad to have you on the show, my friend. Let's get right down to it. I want to know, since you are a MMA referee, now we know MMA referees may be one of the most hated people in the sport, probably besides the fighters, and I wanted to know, what is your outlook on today's MMA refereeing?
Man, MMA refereeing has come a long way. I watched UFC 1 last week, and it was almost hard to watch, even though it was Big John.
Yeah.
Of how bad it was and how dangerous it was.
Yeah.
MMA, ever since Stephen Bonner fought Forrest Griffin on TV, my work has increased. So MMA is huge. So the demand for referees is huge, and furthermore, the demand for good referees is huge. And I'd like to think I fall in that category, so I stay pretty busy.
I guess, as with the NFL referees have to stay on top of their game because the rules are evolving year in and year out. And I know that UFC and other MMA organizations, the rules are changing each and every day. So is it mandatory to stay on top? They have like a certain list you have to stay on top of your game. Do you have a checklist that you have to check off each and every year, so to speak?
Yeah, man, actually you do. That's a good question. MMA referees need to be certified by the Association of Boxing Commissions, which is also known as the ABC.
Okay.
So it's bi-yearly, so it's every other year you have to go travel to a regional, usually 6 or 8 hour class with an ABC trainer, which I'm actually one of those trainers. And so we get up and we update everybody, and it's a refresher for some people, and for some people that are looking to get into refereeing, it's their first shot at it. So yeah, you got to stay on top of your game.
With these classes, is it just like sitting in a classroom, or they have an octagon where they have different scenarios? What goes on?
No, man. I did one last year in Columbia, South Carolina, and it was a little bit of both. It's it's your standard classroom PowerPoint presentation. And then we do go to the octagon and do scenario drills, and make these guys actually get in and mock referee fights. So it's hands-on.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I've never heard nothing like that before. I want you to answer me this question, Blake. Why do you feel most MMA referees are misunderstood these days? Because I feel like sometimes, we've got our sleazy referees that are out there that make the bad calls, but I feel like there are some good referees out there that catch heat, when they're just out there trying to do the best job they can.
Well, man, because nobody recognizes the referee when they do a good job. I've done a lot of fights, man, and if I have let's say I do 10 fights on a card and I make 7 good stoppages, the only person that's going to say something to me is maybe the doctor and commissioner, and it's usually just a quick thumbs up, good job.
Right.
But if I make a call that maybe I saw a tap and it was a phantom tap, or he claims he didn't, you've got 2,000 people booing you. So, that's the issue. And I'm not in it to receive, praise. No, they don't get enough credit because they only get recognized when they screw up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and talking about a couple of screw-ups, I was watching Bellator 78, and with Andrei Koreshkov and Marius Zaromskis, Zaromskis got knocked out cold against the cage, and Andrei Koreshkov continued to pummel his face, and the referee, it took probably about 20 shots, but it took about 12 shots for him to come in and break that away. What's your thoughts on that? And also, with Mikhail Sarev and Lyman Good, Sarev got poked in the eye, and the referee came in and was about to separate him. Then he backed off, and Lyman Good just delivered the goods, so to speak. I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, man, people always make mistakes, and it's easy for anybody to sit at home and say what that referee should have done.
Right.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
But when you're in there and something happens, and this is why you have to be on top of your game, because there is no time to think like a checklist. Okay, what are the procedures here? You just simply have to react. As far as your question for the late stoppage, I didn't see the fight, but if he got knocked down and hit another 15 times, yeah, that was probably late. On the other hand, maybe the ref saw something. Maybe he was trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. If it was a pro main event where I'm working, I'm going to give that guy every opportunity to get out. But I was accused of a late stoppage in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. Excuse me, I didn't stop it. I should have stopped it, some said, but it was Lawson McClure and Shane Crenshaw.
Yeah.
And Shane was on top hitting him, and I just didn't think that Lawson was getting hit that bad. Plus, I know the guys, I know the punishment they can take. So it's just a judgment call, man. Some are going to be right, some are going to be wrong. I think most referees try to get it right, but we would rather let it go a minute longer than to stop a fight early and have a pro fighter jump up and say, dude, what are you doing? That's everybody's worst nightmare.
Yeah, and George and I have talked about this in the past where there might be a 5 count initiated. Like if somebody's getting pummeled, you got a 5 count to either change your position, or if they're people like to call it dry humping nowadays. If you're just sitting there and nothing's going on, you got a 5 count, and then the guy will say, okay, I got till 5 until I got to react, or it's just going to be broken up and stood up. What do you think about something like that getting initiated?
Well, that is a good idea in theory, and I think all referees kind of have that in their mind. There's not a count, because my 5 count may not be the same as Herb Dean's or whatever, depending on when you start the count, etc. But one thing I do try to do is think about the audience and what they're watching, and I say advance the fight twice before I stand up. I'll tell them that if you want to stay there, do something. But yeah, I think in general we probably could see some quicker breakups, stand-ups to push the action.
Okay. I want to go into your mind a little bit here, Blake. I want to know, what is the mindset of an MMA referee? Because I know it's a completely different mindset to a fighter, when he's getting prepared to go out into the octagon. But I just want to know, what's a referee's mindset before he goes into the octagon?
That's a great question, and there's 2 answers. My mindset, I've refereed about approaching 1,300 fights.
Wow.
So my mindset at Wild Bill's or, Myrtle Beach or Charleston or, regional shows is really autopilot. I know what I've got to do. I've done it 1,000 times literally before. I don't worry about who's in the crowd or who's on the card. I do it all the same. Now, that's a different story when I was backstage at UFC 145 getting ready to kind of walk down the tunnel to referee the main card. I was nervous.
Yeah.
So then your mindset changes of, honestly, it was, don't mess up. This is your chance. Don't mess this up. In all my years I've made, if I've ref 1,300 fights, I've probably made 5 or 6 bad calls. And you're just hoping that it's not going to be on a big show.
Yeah.
But your mindset is the politically correct answer is your mindset should be on fighter safety, which it is.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of on autopilot. I've been doing it for so long, except on the bigger show. And I'm doing Bellator February of next year, so I'm sure my mindset will be different there as well.
Okay. Now tell me this, Blake. After a fight, I want you to tell me whether you think, the fight was good or whether it was bad. Has there ever been a night when you're walking back to the dressing room and you're taking that sigh of relief like, oh, man, I hope I did that right, man. I hope I didn't blow any calls, man. I hope I did what I was supposed to do. Is that stress come back on you after a fight, for you to kind of critique yourself on how you did?
Yes, yeah, I always critique myself. And if I blow it, I know immediately. I don't have to wonder on the way backstage necessarily. But, if I make what could be considered a late or an early stoppage, I do wonder. Because you don't want to, if you make a mistake, the thing about mistakes is, man, we're all human, and you're going to make them.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I'm going to make them. John McCarthy's going to make them. But the trick is to get over it and to learn from it and not do it again.
Exactly.
So I usually will try to maybe talk to somebody to give myself a little, encouragement of, hey, dude, that wasn't too bad, was it? And, they usually say no, and I move on and I forget about it. I think mostly about it on the drive home, to tell you the truth. Okay. Then I can analyze the whole night. Okay, what happened? How can I not do that again? Or, what did I do good?
So yeah, I can understand. You're a perfectionist. Like I know somebody that's a perfectionist here in the studio, and I can totally understand. I'm always analyzing everything I do, either doing ring announcing or doing play-by-play or here on MMA Mayhem, and you want to do the best you can. But I wanted to know, man, in the heat of the moment when you're trying to break guys up, maybe separate them, have you ever been hit?
Dude, I haven't. I have never been accidentally hit. I've been pushed by 3 people. There were a couple that had been knocked out and that woke up and kind of pushed me away. And then I had a female push me one time, but nothing too bad. But no, I've never been hit, man. I never have.
Now, real quick, we're going to wrap things up with you, sir. I've got Blake Grice here on MMA Mayhem on the Couch Fighter Hotline. I want to know, in the future, with maybe there needs to be a referee on the outside, or maybe you have to have maybe possibly an earpiece in, so maybe somebody can communicate that's looking over the cage too as well, so maybe both can coincide and call fights better. What do you think about that?
I think that's an interesting idea. Again, things happen so fast. And I also think that not 2 referees are going to be the exact same.
Yeah.
So I think you would have to really be on the same wavelength as somebody else if they were going to assist from the outside. Now, there's been times where I'm, watching an undercard referee and kind of critiquing him, and I will give instructions. I'll just yell him, get him up, or he's had enough, stuff like that. But it would have to be somebody that's as good as you are or better watching.
Well, Mr. Grice, it's been great having you here on MMA Mayhem. Real quick, any sponsors, any affiliates you want to make a shout out to?
No, man. I'd like to say congrats to my good buddy and the Georgia Commissioner Andy Foster for getting the job to head up California Mixed Martial Arts. So other than that, no, just all your listeners, thanks for listening.
Hey, man, and we thank you for stopping by here on MMA Mayhem. You have an excellent day, sir, and happy Halloween.
You too, fellas.
Hello, Caroline. This is Candyman, and coming up next on this gruesome edition of MMA Mayhem, we will be talking to Dan, the Beast, Severn. This is Candyman. Don't say my name 5 times. You are listening to MMA Mayhem on the BBSN.com and CouchFighter.co.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. 1 in 6 women and 1 in 33 men will become a victim of sexual assault in their lifetime. Join RAIN today in the fight against sexual violence and volunteer in your community. Log on to RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org, to learn how you can help provide support to those who need it most.
This message brought to you by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network and this station.
Hi, this is Paige Chapman, actress, model, pro elite ring girl, and when I want my latest MMA news, I tune into MMA Mayhem.
Check, 1 2 1 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back here on MMA Mayhem on the Couch Fighter Hotline with none other than he has been inducted into the Arizona State Hall of Fame. He has been the 2-time former NWA heavyweight champion, also has been inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, and owner of 100 plus wins in his career. Let me introduce to you fans, Dan, the Beast, Severn. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Well, thanks for having me there, guys.
Hey, Dan, you've had a great career, 100-plus wins, but I want to go back to when you were a child. I want to know what gave you the idea or the drive to become an amateur wrestler from the get-go.
Well, let's see. Probably like any other kid, I was just trying various sports to see if I was any good at it. Unlike today's young people, there's a lot more opportunities. They have all these rocket football organizations. Kids start tennis at 3 years of age. When I got involved with organized sports, it was in junior high when it was simply offered up in the school. And I first started off in basketball, but I did not have the ability of dribbling that ball, looking away, and still actually having it underneath the palm of my hand. So the coach sent me on the bench, and that's kind of a lonely spot, sitting on the bench, and didn't get a chance to see a whole lot of action. Well, a couple of my buddies on the amateur wrestling team, a big flu epidemic hit. They were like, "Hey, Dan, we really could use some bodies tonight to fill in. Otherwise, we'll be forfeiting weight classes." Being a big old farm kid, I thought, "Well, what the heck? I'm big and strong. Let me give this a whirl." And I wrestled twice that night. Ended up getting beat. Actually got pinned both times, and that was my inauguration in the world of amateur wrestling. And I went back and finished up my illustrious basketball season. And the next year, I signed up for wrestling. And I guess as that old cliche goes, and the rest is history.
Yeah, you want to talk about, you've made a lot of history throughout your career, and it started off pretty much at Arizona State University. You had over 500 victories as an amateur. Why don't we go back to your college days and describe how your career evolved even further when you went and participated in the MMA?
Well, I mean, from my collegiate career, I kept wrestling even after my post-collegiate career. And I ventured into my professional wrestling ranks as of the 1992 Olympics, when a new rule came down from the United States Olympic Committee, allowing athletes to be both amateur and professional simultaneously, as long as you were not involved in high school athletics and or collegiate athletics. You'd still be governed by NCAA rules or the High School Athletic Association rules. Well, I was well past my collegiate eligibility, so I could have my cake and eat it too. My amateur career meant a whole lot more to me, so I continued to wrestle amateur-wise while jumping into the professional wrestling ranks, and used my real name, used my real credentials, and only doing that for just a little bit of time. A gentleman out of Nashville, Tennessee, asked me if that stuff was legit. I said it was, and he said, "You ought to be over in Japan doing this thing called shoot putting, shoot wrestling." Had never heard of it before. Gave him a business card, athletic resume. 3 days later, I get a phone call. 10 days later, I'm in Nashville for a tryout. 30 days later, I'm in Tokyo, Japan, in front of 12,000 people. Did not have a clue as to what I was doing. All I know is my Asian opponent kicked me half a dozen times. Really hard. I grabbed him.
Oh, man.
Flinging him all over the place, dismantling him, much to the crowd's delight. And the Japanese interpreter simply said, "Don Saban, you will become superstar."
And that you did.
Mr. Severn. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead, guys. It's almost been comical in how I've actually gotten involved in some of the different industries. And yet somehow come out on top.
Yeah, I hear that. Mr. Severn, this is the MMA Encyclopedia, George Kennebrew. Now, we know that you have been inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. That's well known. But I want you to tell me, by being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, do you sort of feel like you were one of the main parts of UFC's history?
Well, I mean, honestly, George, I mean, that's when opportunity presented itself. I never thought of it at the time. All that stuff kind of came after the fact. A buddy of mine showed me, he watched the first two UFCs. I mean, living in a rural community like Coldwater, Michigan at the time, did not actually have any kind of pay-per-view capabilities. So a buddy of mine out of Detroit watches the first two, records them on an old VHS tape, shows them to me and says, "Hey, you ought to think about doing this." I'm seeing people get soccer kicked in the head, stomped in the whole 9 yards. I'm like, these are not exactly skills that I possess.
Right.
But he's like, well, look at this skinny guy doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Of course, he was referring to Royce Gracie, and I had never been exposed to Jiu-Jitsu before. I said, but it kind of looks like grappling there to me. So I thought, well, what the heck? If a guy gets close enough, he's got to get close enough to at least to throw down up at me, and I can either avoid, either back up a little bit more, or close the distance so he doesn't get any real mustard on any of those shots. So that's kind of like the basic game plan that I went in there with, and has continued to work very well all these years later.
Right. And speaking of that, looking well and everything, you certainly look very, very well, in phenomenal shape for the age that you are, sir. And what I want to know is, being that you've got all these accomplishments and stuff that you have in your career, I want to know what motivates you to still compete. I mean, because you're still, at this point of your career that you're in, you're still going strong, and I just want to know what motivates you to keep going.
Well, I'll answer that a couple of different ways. First off, they don't have the old, 10-step program that helps addicted athletes get off their career choices. I mean, if they were to come up with the MMA patch or something like that I could start to wear and kind of detox myself, kind of like the nicotine patch that people use to try to quit smoking, I might be able to get away from this. But no, the reality is, I've been involved with it a long time, and it's no secret that as of December 2010, I sent off a mass email to my database to all the various promoters and promotions that I had, letting them know that if they were ever thinking about utilizing my services, it had better take place somewhere in the course of 2012, because by January 1st, 2013, I plan on being retired from that sector.
Right.
And I do have, I've knocked up a couple matches, but I don't have anything currently on the books. But I do actually have two organizations that have talked to me saying that they won't really have everything put together until probably February or March, possibly even to April. Would I stick around long enough for that? And I go, just simply contact me as you guys get closer, and I will let you know. One of the matches that they're kind of dangling out there is a possible match with Ken Shamrock, and I go, guys, that's one that I will stick around for.
Yeah.
And I also, and speaking of that, I wanted to get to that question. We know about that legendary feud, and it was a classic feud that you had with Ken Shamrock in the early days of the UFC. And I wanted to know, do you feel like that was one of the moments that kind of helped shape the company into, where it was going or where it was about to get to?
Well, I don't really know for that. I mean, I know that there's different feuds that kind of took place, and the actual feud, I think, was more or less kind of like materialized by other sources, because probably the number one email I continue to get today is, or Facebook question is, why do you hate Ken Shamrock? And I'm like, well, I really don't hate the guy because I don't even know the guy.
Yeah.
Whatever time that we have shared was, being inside the octagon, and we weren't exactly exchanging pleasantries at that time. It might be animosity towards one another, maybe some things that have been said in various types of interviews, such as, a lot of times when people ask me about Ken, what do I think of him? And my stock answer is that he has never achieved any success on his own ability. And people are like, well, what does that mean? I go, well, I don't want to tip the apple cart out on Ken there, but I always tell people, I'm a true champion. I've achieved all my success on my own ability. Didn't have to take anything, no bills, no shots. I simply showed up and took care of business.
Hey, and speaking of which, in 1995, you were entered into a massive tournament, the Ultimate, over in UFC, and you had to go through 3 opponents. Can you tell me about that historic event? And also, do you think that tournament style would ever exist nowadays?
Well, to answer the second part of that, no.
Yeah.
The tournament style, just a combination of reasons for that is the skill level of the athletes has risen. When I was first involved in what was known as no holds barred, not mixed martial arts, but no holds barred. The current product that your listeners watch, mixed martial arts, has approximately 37 rules. Part of those 37 rules is they have weight classes, time periods, the athletes wear gloves, and they fight one match in a given evening. Back in the old no-holds-barred days, there was only two rules that the athletes had to abide by. That being, do not bite your opponent, and do not stick any fingers in their eye sockets. No eye gouging. That was the end of the rules.
Right. What about the crotch? What about the crotch area?
What's that?
What about the crotch? They could punch you in the crotch?
Well, as long as you didn't bite it, or stick it in someone's eye, you're good to go. I mean, seriously, I mean, when I say it like that, I mean it sincerely. There's a classic match that took place between Keith Hackney and Joe Son, where Keith Hackney had Joe Son down on the ground, had his left hand on Joe Son's esophagus, trying to crush it and tear it out.
Wow.
And with his right hand, proceeded to strike Joe Son, I do believe, is either 7 or 8 unanswered times, right in the old southern extremities. But never fear, Joe Son survived, and he now has a very fulfilling career singing for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Yeah, you've had an illustrious career, and you've spent some time in the WWF, which is the WWE now, back in '98. Now, when you went into that locker room, and I've been around professional wrestlers for a long time, and working in the locker room.
This is the next question. I apologize. I know that I've got airport announcements taking place around me. I'm trying to muffle them out as much as I possibly can.
Dan, you never have to apologize to us, my friend. It's all good. And, I want to talk about, like, WWF in 1998. When you were in that locker room, did guys, were they shy away from you? Did they fear you? Did they not know how to take you? I know you've been in the professional wrestling world, but I don't know. A fighter entering into the WWF was something new back then.
Well, it was, I'll say the first few weeks were rather interesting because every time I would meet the various wrestlers, they would always refer to me as Mr. Severn. They'd be like, they would be talking, they would be calling each other either by their first names or by their worker name.
Right.
But then it seemed like they bump into, to me, it's kind of like, and how are you doing today there, Mr. Severn? It's always Mr. I kept thinking, well, maybe they're trying to pull a rib on me. I just let it go. Didn't bother at all. After a few weeks of this, I just was sitting down, having some lunch, stuff like this. One of the guys came by and basically did the same thing. I go, hey, if you don't mind me asking, I said, I've got to notice that this is kind of ongoing here right now. I mean, there's a bother. I go, not whatsoever. I go, I'm just kind of curious why this does exist. And he just simply looks at me and goes, brother, he says, you're from the real world. He goes, we're all make believe.
Yeah,
and he goes, you scare us because we're afraid that you're going to have one of these, Vietnam, napalm type of flashbacks, and you're going to turn fantasy into reality. Yeah. And he goes, there ain't nothing we're going to be able to do about it.
Yeah.
Hey, you never did a shoot on anybody in the wrestling world, did you? Because I know they call them shoots back in the pro wrestling world.
Yeah, again, that's a term for legitimate ability. An athlete that actually had true ability, it would have been referred to as a shooter. Yes.
Dan, I want you to answer me this question. When you went to WWE in 1998, did you set out something? Brad was. I want to piggyback on something Brad said. When you went to WWE in 1998, did you set out to prove that MMA fighters or no holds barred fighters can adapt to the pro wrestling world?
No, I mean that really wasn't it. What a lot of people don't realize, I was actually first a professional wrestler.
Okay.
As of the '92 Olympics, I was first a professional wrestler, and then I started going into over in Japan, started doing the shoot fighting, the shoot wrestling, things of that nature, and then eventually jumping into mixed martial arts as of 1994. So. A lot of people always say, well, they make these quarterback armchair quarterback type of comments. They're like, well, you were a sellout. You went from the cage fighting world into professional wrestling. I go, really? I go, so then obviously you really don't know my true history. I go, I was an amateur wrestler, a professional wrestler, And then I jump into the cages. I go, so I said, if anyone should be mad at me, should be the professional wrestling people for being a sellout and jumping into the cage fighting. And then they will all come back, well, no, that's cool, that's all right. And I'm thinking, so we have the old catch-22 right now. One way it would not have been acceptable, but the other way, it is acceptable.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked that is because, we see the trend now of, pro wrestlers or MMA fighters coming into mixed martial arts. We've had, like Brock Lesnar go into MMA and come into professional wrestling.
Go ahead. I'm just sorry. I'm battling with another announcement that's kind of going here right now.
It's okay.
Ken Shamrock.
Yeah,
in pro wrestling.
Yeah, I was saying that the reason why I asked you that is because we see the trend now of pro wrestlers going into mixed martial arts and vice versa. So that's why I was saying, I didn't know if your mindset was to try to prove a point when you first went to WWE that, hey, even though we fight in no holds barred fighting, we can still come in and get it done in the pro wrestling world too, and still be just as good as we were in no holds barred.
Well, no, and a lot of it, you're correct, and that wasn't really my agenda that I set out to do. I just wanted to, do well. I mean, I've always, even when I was in the WWE, you can fall into a lot of different categories. But there is a particular cycle of a professional wrestler that if you're the good guy, the baby face, still turning into bad guy down the road. If you're the bad guy, you turn into the good guy. Just the kind of the cycle of that. And I was always considered a good guy, just a no-nonsense, intense type of a good guy.
Yeah.
And, I'd always put together some preconceived ideas of what I could live with as that bad guy. But all of a sudden, the creative team is pitching me these wacky ideas of putting 666 across my forehead.
Oh, no.
Becoming an Undertaker disciple. And as in the middle that they're pitching me this idea, I make a whistling noise, put my hand up like the T. I go, time out, guys. That isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I said, I live in small-town USA. I am not about to have any repercussions against my family, against my businesses, nor me. I said, you'd be surprised how many people buy into this, and I'm not going to have any kind of repercussions against my family.
Yeah, and before we wrap things up here with Dan the Beast Severn, the only UFC Triple Crown champion, I might make known. I want to ask you one real quick question before we wrap things up. How did you get the name The Beast? I know you're huge and everything, but did somebody else come up with that name?
No, you're correct. It was one of the play-by-play commentators, Jim Brown, the legendary football player Jim Brown. He was one of the commentators for about the first half a dozen shows, and I wear glasses. And at first he says, you're kind of like a Clark Kent Superman. How you go from meek manner to this dump. And he even said, he goes, how do you turn it on like that? I go, Jim Brown is asking me a question like this? I go, I watched him play football when I was in high school. He was the most punishing running back.
Yes, he was.
The game. As far as I'm concerned, he retired at such a young age that there are a couple players that eventually beat his record, but had he played, these guys had to play out many more years than what he ever did, but had he played just a couple more years, he would have put that running record at such a height no human being would have ever touched it. And he didn't run around people, he ran over people.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that, in his closing comments from UFC number 4 to number 5, he goes, what a transition Dan Severn has made. He goes, when he first came in, he was just a wrestler. Now he's punching, he's clubbing, he's so aggressive, he's like an animal, he's like a beast. And that's where Bing, that got flat with my alter ego.
Well, Dan, it's been a pleasure having you here on MMA Mayhem.
Yes, it
Do you
has.
have any shout-outs to any sponsors, any affiliates you want to make known? Maybe Price of Glory. I heard you helped create Price of Glory back in 2004.
I've got so many different things, so many irons, but I also would just say that if you want to know more about what I've done in the past or what I continue to do, simply go to dansevern.com, and you'll see it's almost like a three-ring circus and a side freak show there, but it'll show POG, the Price of Glory for professional wrestling, it'll show Danger Zone for what I do with for mixed martial arts, but then I also do stuff with law enforcement, and corrections, and military, and do things with kids, and I do an awful lot. I've been accused of having clones, I've been accused of having twins, and it can't be me out there still after all these years later, because, gentlemen, I won my first national title in 1972, and you guys were born when?
1976.
1988.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I've got jock straps older than what you guys are.
Well, hey, once again, Dan the Beast Severn, it's been a pleasure having you here on MMA Mayhem.
Yeah, man.
You're always welcome back anytime,
Always.
any day, man.
Well, guys, I'll tell you what, at the conclusion of my MMA career, why don't you guys give me a shout, and then I'll let you know what the new projects that the Beast is working on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Great,
anything you
great.
got, we'll promote as best as we can.
All right, well, thanks, guys, for having me on.
All right, thanks.
Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next on MMA Mayhem, we're going to get boogie with Curtis Ledger, staff writer for MFC and AddictedMMA.com. You are listening to the BBSN.com and CouchFighter.co. Oh, yes.
Okay, astronaut, you're up. You'll be meeting with Wish Kid Brandon. His wish is to see a space shuttle launch.
All systems go.
This year, more than 27,000 children will be diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition. The Make-A-Wish Foundation can give them hope that will lift their spirits in these trying times.
And Cowboy, you'll be meeting with Shayla at a dude ranch in San Antonio.
Let's saddle up.
Their wishes are waiting to come true.
You can help make my wish happen. Visit wish.org today.
Hi, this is Jade Price, Bellator ring girl, and when I want my MMA news, I listen to MMA Mayhem.
MMA Mayhem fans, we are back here on the Couch Fighter Hotline.
Yeah.
Ooh. With staff writer with MFC and also staff writer with AddictedMMA.com. None other than Curtis Ledger. Welcome back to MMA Mayhem, sir.
Hey, thanks so much for having me back, guys. Happy Halloween, everybody, and boo to you.
Whoa, you scared me, man.
Whoa.
Maximum Fighting Championship 35 explosive encounter went down this past weekend. Mr. Ledger, you have a lot to write about, sir.
I do have a lot to write about. I mean, we had everything in this card that I look forward to coming to an MFC card. A ton of finishes, which is actually the second card in a row with a ton of finishes. We had a fantastic finish to the main event. Of course, obviously crowned a new middleweight champion for the Maximum Fighting Championship, and had one of the most amazing back-and-forth slobber-knocker brawls that I've seen in a really, really long time. Some great submissions as well. I mean, it was just sort of that card that had everything, and I don't mean to be cliche or whatever in these comments, but go back and watch it if you haven't seen it yet. Watch it and then tell me I'm wrong. Tweet me if I'm wrong. I'm at @addicted_ledge. I'm telling you, I'm absolutely right. That was a great card. Had everything.
You know, Mr. Ledger, I want to go to one of the first contests. Sabah Fadai, I got that name correct, and Cody Cron.
Yeah,
Am I correct on that? Okay, a great fight, okay? And there must have been some massive heat between both of these gentlemen. But the thing is, the big question I have is, the triangle choke ended the fight in round 1, and Sabah Fadai got the victory. But a little bit unsportsmanlike after the fight. Isn't the whole point of the fight to settle it in the cage and not have to do your trash talking afterwards? I think there should have been a fine. Something should have been down. These fighters got to realize, hey, enough with the trash talking. You're supposed to be settling that with your actions.
You know, I think you're absolutely right where you're coming from with the sportsmanlike conduct and the way these guys have to be handling themselves. Now, what ends up happening with the athletic commissions or with the MFC itself and disciplinary action, I haven't heard anything yet as to how that's going to go down. I do want to speak quickly, though, to Sabah Fadai. As a guy, as I've come to know him, you know, I've talked to him a few times, seen him obviously around the MFC, and always known him to be sort of a humble kind of character. Like, the actions that he took after that fight were really out of character. For any of your listeners that don't know, you know, he was yelling at Cody Cron to make weight, and there's a few choice words that I shouldn't use on the air as well, right? But typically that's not Sabah.
So he was trying to make weight, Cron, and he was worried about him not making weight and this contest not going down. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, well, there's a few things that happened. One is, I mean, Sabah was fighting heavier than he likes to. So he already knew that he was going up and probably facing a bigger, stronger guy, which he was.
Yeah.
And so he's probably already a little nervous about that. I don't know if he was, but I would be, right? You got that size difference. The other thing is, then this is the third fight, I believe, in a row that Kron has come in overweight. So Saba was probably also thinking, like, man, you know, as another professional, you know, what are you doing, never being able to make weight? Now, granted, one of those weight cuts was a very last-minute fight that he took, in all fairness to Cody, but I can see how all these things built up for Saba, and he had all this rage. He's actually said that coming into that fight, like, he was just seeing red with rage and had to contain that. And then when the fight ended, he had that release of emotion, and it just sort of came out. Now, that's not to excuse his behavior in any way, shape, or form, and I imagine there will be some sort of disciplinary action, but Saba's come out and apologized for his actions, and I know deep down inside that's not the kind of guy he is, and I'm sure he regrets what he did.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. Do you think he was just, you know, so motivated to really want to, you know, finish Cody Kron, and do you think his emotions just got the better of him?
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. I mean, like I say, he was pumped up. Well, and there's the other thing you mentioned earlier, too, that was the fight going to be called off. Well, that's what Fadaya thought. He thought that fight was called off because Kron didn't want to fight due to some weight issues. And I believe he found out at 9:30 in the morning on the fight day, the fight was on again. So that probably just added to the emotion. Like, the nerves that you'd have and the butterflies going into that fight anyway, and then to think that, well, okay, now I'm not fighting, and maybe you got the financial stress or whatever that goes with that, and then all of a sudden to find out last minute, oh no, the fight's back on, I think that just added fuel to the emotional fire, and I think you're absolutely right. It was just a matter of too much emotion, and then when it came out, the bad judgment call.
Yeah, you know, and we're on couchfighter.co, and we come from a fan's perspective, you know, so we don't actually know every inside and out, and I'm glad we get to interview you today. And I want to talk about another fight on that card, Shmaleno Rama. Am I right on that? Shmaleno. I saw the fight. I just can't pronounce his name. Versus Ryan Fortin. Now, Shmaleno Rama was undefeated, and he kept that undefeated streak alive and knocked down and choked out the 6'8" giant. The guy, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, huh?
I guess so. And what's even more remarkable about that is, at one point, Fortin had him mounted, and so we're talking about a guy 6'6", and Rama, I think, is like 6 feet. So he had the 6 inches on him. They're both around the same weight, but when you look at them side by side, Ryan Fortin looks like the much bigger fighter. Had Rama mounted in full mount, man, and he managed to reverse that position and then choke him out. To me, that was like the most impressive thing. That and the pace that those guys fought at. I mean, it was a heavyweight fight, but that thing went down like middleweights at biggest with the speed and the back and forth action. But really, what impressed me the most about Rama was keeping that undefeated streak alive after being mounted by a dude who's that much bigger than you are. Like, that's just impressive to be able to do that.
Yeah, I want to cover both the last two fights too, and we're kind of running out of time. But I want to cover. You know, you might be different than I am with the fight with Graham Spencer and Shane Nelson. Shane Nelson coming out of BJ Penn's camp, a little bit undersized, a little bit overpowered. But Graham Spencer, I thought he could get the job done, and he didn't get he won, but he won by decision. I thought that he could have finished Mr. Shane Nelson off. And I just thought it was a lot of, a lot of dry humping.
There you go,
Where's
Brad.
the elbows, man? Where's the elbows? Yeah. I totally agree with what you're saying. I wasn't impressed with his fight. You know, he got the victory, but I think that you said it best.
I hate to say that
really
too, man.
Was not a very impressive victory, no matter what way you look at it. And I don't think there's a camera angle that could have made that win look good. And he definitely was in position to land more blows and finish it.
You know, and he's a featherweight, and he's gonna get his chance to go against some other competition in the future. But the main event, man, outstanding main event. If MFC is gonna hit the streets and get their name known and get out there, this is the fight: Elvis Mutapchik versus Joseph Henley. What a fight this was! Two guys that are studs. 12-2. Joseph now 8-1-1. And what's the word, man? I know Henley, he got his leg got destroyed on that in that match. Can you update us on what's going on?
Last I heard, he had some MCL, ACL, and if there's anything around your leg that ends in an L, it was damaged by that kick. I don't know the severity of it, but Henley did spend the night in the hospital in Edmonton. Also had his arm wrapped up pretty good.
Yeah.
But that leg is gonna have some time in rehab. I don't know exactly how long, but man, you're right. What an incredible fight. Henley said before going into that fight, he said this is going to be power versus power, and that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to stand toe to toe and go hard. And he admitted that was a risky strategy before he went into it. But sure enough, he kept his word and put on a magnificent fight for the fans. Now, not the best fight for his leg, but a great fight for the fans.
Right.
And watching Mutapcic get that kick and hearing the audience reaction on the replay, it was phenomenal because Henley's leg bent in a way that you don't want to see anyone's leg bend.
Yeah.
And you heard he was done as soon as that connected.
Curtis, do you know the amount of because we know about medical suspensions and stuff? Do you kind of have an update or have an estimate on how how long he'll be medically suspended from competition?
A long time, bro. It's gonna be long.
Yeah, guys, I apologize. I don't have the exact time on the medical suspension yet. I'm not sure, but yeah, I imagine it's going to be some time, and he's going to need it, quite frankly. Seeing that injury live and knowing what a tough guy Henley is, and then to see the way he reacted, you just know that it was bad.
Well, hey, we're running out of time, Mr. Ledger. Any sponsors, any affiliates, anybody you want to make a shout out to on this great Halloween holiday?
Absolutely. I want to give my spookiest shout out, of course, to all my boys at Addicted MMA. That's www.addictedmma.com. I got to give mad love to the Maximum Fighting Championship at www.maximumfighting.com. And, of course, I encourage all your listeners to definitely follow me on Twitter. It's at addicted_ledge. That's addicted_LEDGE. I greatly appreciate the follows. I'll work to keep you entertained on that. And, of course, much love to you guys. I really, really appreciate you having me on the show again.
We appreciate you, man. It's always a pleasure having you here on MMA Mayhem. Kurt, you're always welcome back. Anytime, man. Anytime.
And we're big fans of MFC.
Yes,
now.
We are.
I mean, they have hit the spotlight. It's on, man.
Hey, Curtis, when you come back, maybe you should see about if you can get Ryan Jimmo on the show here, man. Tell us about those little, pop locking moves he does. I want to learn some of them dance moves from him, man. Hey, tell Ryan Jimmo if he's out there in the open, tell him that MMA Encyclopedia George Kennebrew from MMA Mayhem will take him on in a pop locking contest, and I will get our producer Joel to film it in front of a whole YouTube audience so they can see my skills, man. I can go, man. I'm over here doing a little wiggling right now, man.
Oh yeah.
George. Go ahead, pass the wave there, Brad.
George is good at the worm.
Yeah, man.
I smell a million YouTube hits coming.
Yes, sir.
And the first chance I get, I'm putting the challenge forward to Jimmo for sure.
Yes, sir.
Right,
and Brad is a really good sprinkler too. He can do the sprinkle very well as well.
And the helicopter.
Helicopter.
Hey, man, take it easy, Kurt. And, you always have a great day. And, come back on the show anytime you want.
All right. We'll talk to you guys again soon. I welcome the chance to come back. Take it easy, guys. Happy Halloween. Woo!
Hey, George, that was a great interview. And we had a great show today, man. It's been an outstanding show. Bellator 79 is going to be coming up, man. What's your thoughts? The Phenom is going to be taking on Jacob Ortiz. And we got the interview on this episode. And what's your thoughts on the Phenom taking him on 180-pound catch weight?
Yeah, Douglas Lima is a beast. He's been a beast. Yeah, he's a beastly phenom, and he's been that way for a minute now. And I believe he's going to give Mr. Ortiz everything he can handle, man, with the jiu-jitsu. And we've seen his improving knockout power. If you haven't seen that, go check it out on YouTube. Just type in Douglas Lima knockout, and I guarantee you, he will definitely blow your mind because he's got some power.
You can also check out Mr. Lima at The Phenom if you want to check him out on Twitter. He has a big Twitter following, has a big Facebook following. We're big fans of him. Yep. American Top Team, Gwinnett is the place to be.
Shout out to Steve Imes.
And Atlanta.
Juan Jacau, Carnero, Manu McElroy, his Muay Thai coach. Shout out to the whole AT&T family, man. We love y'all boys.
Yeah, Thiago Santos is going to be taking on Richard Hale in a heavyweight contest. It looks like Rare Breed's going against Big Monster. And Thiago Santos took out a huge Prindle. Mr. Prindle. I don't remember his first name. But
called that one.
I do remember the fight. And
I called
the
that
fight,
one.
Thiago Santos is a beast. And I saw Richard Hale take out Mike Wessel. And Mike Wessel's a big dude, too.
Yeah, he is.
And Mike Wessel, I think he won his last fight prior to facing off against Richard Hale.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a big contest. And I think Santos is going to get the job done, though. He looked very dominating in his last fight. He's a big heavyweight. He's not ripped, so to speak.
No.
But I think good things are going his way, and I think he's going to get the victory. What do you think?
I think so. I think, like you said, too much power, too much skills. So good luck with that.
Fans, I want you to chime in, too, on the discussions we had, especially with Bellator 78 this week, with the referees, the referee making some maybe poor decisions. But, like we talked with Blake Grice, everybody's going to pinpoint when a referee makes a mistake, and we saw that with the NFL officials.
Give them credit, people. They're humans just like us, and they're just trying to do a job. So tone the heater down just a little bit, just a few notches, okay, just a few.
And we talk about tough 16.
Oh gosh.
And
you mean everybody? You mean everybody's favorite distraction on a Friday night when I could be up at Magic City throwing up some ones? Making it rain up in that piece.
Yeah, Magic City.
Yeah.
I'd be going to the Pink Pony.
I make it rain on it. Well, never mind. Don't get me started.
I can't anymore.
We be all the way turned up. You already know what it is. Go ahead, Brad. That's how we do it on the South Side. You already know.
And I've always been a big a pro wrestling fan, and I'm a big MMA fan. Yep. And I don't know, bro. They say that wrestling's a work. I think this show, Tough 16.
Really?
I think this is.
Did you just make that known
this is
right
a
now?
Damn work.
On MMA Mayhem.
Damn work.
Did you say they're working?
Fans? No, it's a work.
You saying they're working? Right?
Well,
this is a work.
No, yeah, it's a work. They're working. Yeah, they're fighting, but this is a work.
That's what I said. They're working. These people. They're working the fans.
No,
they're working.
You're trying to. Oh, that was funny. No, man. This is BS, man.
Listen
it's
here,
fake.
you little. No, I'm just playing.
It's fake. Michael Hill did not win the fight. Matthew Secor won the fight all the way. And fans, you can chime in on this one.
Let me break this down.
I don't really care.
Let me break this down so everybody can understand. Let me translate what Brad just said. Basically, what happened.
Rigged.
Basically, what happened on this past week's episode of Tough 16 is. What is his name? What's his
Matthew
name?
Secor.
Matthew Secor.
And Michael Hill.
The
Backstreet Boy, they said.
Basically, Matt Secor and Michael Hill had a fight on this week's edition of Tough. They didn't do anything for the first round, but just stall and stare at each other. And Max Secor was trying to figure out how good Michael Hill's hair looked, and he was trying to figure out, why he didn't have any facial hair on his face. So that was the end of the first round. Then the second round, Michael Hill takes him to the ground, dry humps him, and says, "Hey, man, these guys' trousers feel really, really nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and milk out the clock." And then that was the second round. Then the third round comes. Michael Hill goes down, takes him down again, dry humps him again.
No. You got it the wrong way. It's Matthew Secor that was dominating the second and third round. Michael Hill did not do anything in the second and third round. This is why, and the referee, or the judges, I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, dadgummit, Brad. This was just a big mess. It was
a mess. And I know you're excited about it and everything, and you're upset because Tough used to be a cool show. It used to be an outstanding show.
We should call it Bluff. It's called Bluff now.
The
ultimate bluffers.
Fans, you might be mad at me, but I am a fan too. And
we're both fans.
And I love fights. And I love fights. I watch a crud load of fights now. And it's like, I don't understand how the judges could screw something up so big. Yeah. It just seems like a work to me. And and Dana was like, what the hell happened there? You got screwed.
Oh, Dana, you was over there looking at the scorecards. He knows what happened.
There's a lot of people getting screwed. And I don't know if they just wanted Michael Hill to advance because he's got a personality, and maybe they want to make him the next, tough champion. But you got to be able to fight to be the champion.
He's got to represent all the teeny boppers out there.
But then again, they could be making a statement. Don't let it go to the judges.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to let this go to the judges, you're going to get screwed, most likely, because that's how this season's been going.
That's it, man. It's just been a screwy season of screw-ups.
You know, fans, if you want to chime in on @TheBBSN, or you can go to Facebook at facebook.com/TheBBSN. Let me know what you're thinking.
And please
really
go on
want
Facebook.
to know.
Go on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a caller coming in. We'll take that call in just a second. Our Couch Fighter hotline is blowing up, ladies and gentlemen. But, Brad, I think this show has had more screws that Home Depot couldn't even hold, man. Really.
Oh, wow. That's a good one, man. It's a great Halloween, day, and I didn't dress up as anything.
No, you're Brad.
I'm Brad.
Yeah.
And you're
I'm
George today, and you got the
He's Joel.
The white shirt going on and everything.
That's it.
Also, fans.
Because I'm spooky like that.
Jeff Blatnick. I want to know what your thoughts are on this.
Oh,
and
man. This is terrible.
It's been a rough week, and Jeff Blatnick was a big part of MMA, amateur wrestling, huge amateur wrestling background, and also, he played a part in instilling a lot of rules in MMA to make it a better sport. And I just want to know, what your thoughts are, George.
Well, obviously, like you said, Brad, we lost a very valuable man who was really instrumental in constructing what modern MMA is right now. And also he was, one of the first broadcasters to ever call a UFC fight, which was great, by the way. And, it's just a really, really sad day, in the fight world. And also,
he called some great fights.
Yeah, he did call some great fights. And speaking of another important figure in the world of fighting, we also lost Emmanuel Stewart, who was very instrumental in guys like Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Thomas Hitman Hearns, Roberto Duran, Miguel Cotto. Get this, he was getting ready to train one of the Klitschko brothers, and also he was responsible for Lennox Lewis's career getting off the ground.
Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. I know you might be too young to have seen that fight.
Oh no, I know about Sugar Ray now.
That fight was epic.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel Stewart, we're going to miss you guys. Jeff Blatnick, we're going to miss you both. We appreciate everything you've done.
Yes, we have.
For MMA and boxing as well. And, fans, if you want to make a shout out to both Jeff Blatnick and Emmanuel Stewart and show your appreciation, do it on our Facebook page. We'd love to see what you think about it.
Send us your emails at bbsnblog@gmail.com or even on our Twitter. Go to twitter.com/thebbsn and let us know how you feel about these two great figures that were so instrumental in the fight world.
Monumental. And before we wrap things up, I want to make everybody aware that we do have a YouTube page, and it's a BBSN blog on YouTube. You can subscribe. I want you to share it to the world. We're trying to get our hits up on YouTube. It's the same show format with pictures, and we got video, and also fighters. If you feel like you're going to be on the show anytime soon, and you got any video you want to send to us, bbsnblog@gmail.com. I'll put that video up for you, and so it can display your skills, right?
Yeah, and we might even have a nice little surprise for them. Maybe some maximum cover models on there. Talking about what the two pieces are they're going to be wearing for the summertime and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we do appreciate everybody out there. And real quick, big disaster hit the East Coast, and Red Cross is doing $10 donations if you text to Red Cross at 90999. That's right, 90999. Text Red Cross, and you'll get you can give your $10 donation to Red Cross if you text Red Cross at 90999.
That's it. And also, Brad, before we get out of here, another great week for you and I in professional sports. Your Rams did a demolition job on the Rams, and
my Rams did a demolition job on the
your
Rams.
Patriots. I'm sorry, your Patriots. I got tongue tied again there, Brad.
I don't like the Rams.
Well, anyway, your Patriots did a demolition job on the Rams. Sorry for butchering that. And my Falcons shut down Michael Vick like we said we would with his glass body looking self. So it was a great day in professional sports for both of us.
Yeah, who are the Falcons facing next week?
I think we got the Cowgirls.
They're in trouble.
Yeah. Want to thank our affiliates real quick. Pinups for Soldiers, Goodbye LA, Glacius. Go check them out at facebook.com/GlaciusGA. Mr. 217, Whopping, thank you so much. Max Muscle, Lawrenceville, Conflict MMA, XFC, American Top Team of Gwinnett and Atlanta, WWA 4, because that's always where it's at. Bobby Whip, Rampage Pro Wrestling, and of course Houston Murphy at Born to Bang.
And you know what, George?
What's that?
Happy Halloween, and this has been another BBSN production.
Trick or treat.